This is Supreme's enter page. It's clean, minimal, and super iconic. In this video, I'm going to try to replicate this page as close as possible on Shopify using Claude Cowork, completely from scratch in real time. If you don't know how I connected Cowork to Shopify yet, I'll leave a tutorial linked in the description that you can follow along. Let's see how close we can get. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is just screenshot this page layout so that I can just feed it to Claude Cowork. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this. And also, pretty much what you want to do is give as much detail as you can to Claude. So that way you can get to the final outcome as quick as possible. So obviously you have your logo and time in New York City, time zone. And then you have links with red highlight when you hover over them. And also you have your social icons right under it. And at the very bottom of the page, you have some term links that are also important. So this is pretty straightforward. It's nothing too complicated. So let's just see what Claude can come up with on the first prompt. So I already have my store connected to Claude. This is going to be the Shopify store that we'll be working on. As you can see, it's already connected to Claude. This is what my repository is called. It's called my Shopify theme /main. That's pretty much what all the edits will be pushed to. So if we go over to Claude Cowork, I already have it open and connected. I'm going to upload that screenshot that I just took. In the prompt, you pretty much just want to explain as much as possible. So basically what I'm going to tell it is that I want to replicate this page exactly how it is. I want to be able to upload my own logo, also have time and date right below the logo, add my own links, as well as my own social icons, and then also have some important legal links at the very bottom. And for the background, it'll just be solid black. But I'm going to tell it to give me an option to add either a video or image background option. Finish writing up my prompt. I try to give it as much context as possible. Obviously it has a screenshot, so it'll be able to pull from that and help it replicate it to the layout that you want. Just going to push this and just see what exactly it gives me. If it gets it done in the first try, that's awesome, but usually you do have to go back and forth a little bit with Claude AI, since sometimes you could leave out context or it could get confused about something. So let's just push it. I'm going to go into the chat. So I'm just going to cut this part where it's loading and working. So basically what it's doing right now is editing and creating new files inside of the actual theme code. So instead of you having to copy and paste code from the Claude chat into your code editor, Claude Cowork basically can read all the files that are available inside of your Shopify theme and edit them in real time. So you can see that it's actually writing an enter page liquid section for me, and it's writing all the code for me, and all I have to do is pretty much just wait and see what exactly it created for me. And then from there, I pretty much just keep editing and going towards my final goal. But this is a huge game changer because back before I figured out about Cowork, I was actually using Claude to build, Shopify themes and Shopify sections for clients. But I would have to be finding the code, for example, like the password page. And the Dawn theme password page has a lot of code that goes into the page of the password page template. I would have to pretty much find all that code and feed it into Claude and let it know what my goal is, like whether I wanted to add like a option to add background images or background videos. I would have to tell Claude all of my code, and then Claude would have to read it all and then edit or create code for me pasting all of that, and also Claude generating all this code for me. It would hit the max limit of the chats super fast. And sometimes I would max out the chat, and then I would have to create a new chat and kind of tell Claude, where I left off and just feed the code back into it. And then it would generate new code for me, and I would just have to go back and forth, copy and pasting. And that takes a while, just having to copy and paste code and hitting save and refresh. Obviously it's a lot quicker than having to write code from scratch, but it was very tedious and time consuming to just work on, a simple section or snippet. But now that I figured out this Cowork workflow, it's super convenient because now it can read all the files, like I said, and do exactly what I needed to do. And basically all I need to do is have the knowledge, experience, and also the direction to tell Claude what to make. Obviously, you can't just tell Claude to do something like make my Shopify store from scratch, right? because you're not giving it any context or direction. So whatever it generates for you is going to be something that you probably didn't even want in the first place. So it's not exactly, a magic wand. You do still need to have some knowledge and experience of what makes a good Shopify store, but also for conversions, because your website could look super cool, but if it's not selling any products, then is it really, a good website? And one thing you do need to tell Claude is that to not make any empty divs. Instead of empty divs, use span tags instead, because if you're using the Dawn theme, or really majority of themes out there, they do have CSS where display none's empty divs. So you could be making something like a enter page, for your website. Because Claude made it with the empty div, then it won't show up on your store. So you're gonna be confused saying like, why is it not appearing? You're gonna think something's broken and whatnot, but the whole time it's because the CSS is adding display none to your empty div. So you can see right here, Claude said that it couldn't push this new update because there was some type of issue with the API. And I did have to generate a new API earlier because I accidentally deleted it. So I did have to share the new API key with them. You never want to share your API keys in public, but I always delete it after I upload the videos anyways. So this is just an example of something that you might run into whenever you work with Cowork. And it's completely normal when it says like, also, you're sharing the API key with us in the chat. It will be telling you that, just some warnings and whatnot, because it is kind of sensitive information. So I'm gonna go into the Shopify store again and refresh. And then if you look at the logs, you can see that it last saved a minute ago. And if you look at the logs, it says that it received theme files from GitHub, 5 succeeded updates, 0 warnings, 0 failed, and then the theme updated for us. So let's go into the theme editor and see what exactly it created for us. So it should have made an enter page section. So if you go to add section, you can see enter pages at the very bottom. So let's go ahead and add our logo so we can start building out this enter page. So I'm gonna add a logo from WEBEXP on here and hit save. And then you can adjust from here. You can see that it added a logo size adjuster on here. So let's change it to like 120. That looks much better. And you can see it even added date and time for us as well. It's already set to New York City, which is exactly what Supreme has. So now as we keep scrolling, we do have an option for the main menu. So you can see right now it's pretty empty because there's no menu assigned to it yet. So let's assign a main menu real quick. So we have some options here, and then we have a legal menu. So we're just gonna assign our footer on there and then hit save. Cool, so as you can see, like we're pretty close to the Supreme layout already. So, we got our logo here, we got the time and date, and then we have our menu links here with the cool red hover, and then we have our legal links at the very bottom. So let's keep customizing and try to align it perfectly with Supreme. And then we have a background section where you can add a solid color, image, or video. We're gonna leave it as a solid color for now and maybe play around with the video option later. This is exactly what we wanted, pretty close. I would say the only thing that needs to be fixed is these links need to be left aligned, just like Supreme is. Right now they're center aligned, and then obviously we're missing the social links, but if you look over here, we have some social link blocks. So I'm just gonna put a random link on there to see what it looks like. So you can see we got Instagram, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, and we have Pinterest. So that's pretty much exactly what we had to ask for. So let's go back into the Cowork chat and tell it that we need to have these links left aligned, just like Supreme has it. So I'm actually gonna take a screenshot of these real quick. I'm gonna drag and drop it into the chat, and then I'm gonna take a screenshot of our current layout and also drop it into the chat. So right now we're gonna tell it obviously the left align links, and then also I think we need to fix the spacing between the logo and the date and time and the links. So you can see the difference between ours and Supreme's. The logo is a bit further up, and there's a lot more empty space right here. Versus ours is pretty close to the links right below it. So we need to add some spacing. Let's tell that exactly to Claude. Cool, so now you can see that Claude Cowork actually pushed the new changes and it listed out exactly everything that it did. So we're just gonna go back into the Shopify theme and just hit refresh to see the new changes. Cool, so now you can see that there's obviously way more space between the logo and the date and time and the menu. So you can see that they gave us an option to adjust the space between the date and menu. So let's adjust it a bit because right now there's too much empty space and it's not really looking like the Supreme layout. So we're gonna try 120px. So you can see that looks a lot better, pretty close to Supreme. And one thing I do notice still is that, so you can see their container's a lot less width compared to ours. We need to fix that. So I'm actually going to go into inspect element and try to see what that width is at. So you can see right here, it's an enter page body CSS and there's a max width of 320. So I'm going to try to do 200px for mobile version. And then for the desktop version, let's try to do about 220. You can see right away, it looks much better. And it looks pretty close to what Supreme has already. So we're actually going to tell Claude about this change. And what I noticed about looking at this preview is that the header and announcement bar is actually visible on this enter page. And that's not what we wanted at all. So what we need to do is actually take a screenshot of this and tell Claude about this issue so that it can fix it, because we want this enter page to cover up the whole entire screen. We don't want the header or any other sections to be visible on this screen. So I'm going to take a screenshot real quick. I'm going to go into Claude Cowork and just drag and drop that screenshot. And also I'm going to go ahead and tell it about the issue with the width of the container and also the issue with the header being visible. So there we go. I gave it more context and changes that I wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and push this to Claude Cowork. So this kind of workflow is what you can expect when you do this. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect the first time, but you know, after a few times of telling Claude more context and changes that you want, then you can finally arrive at a pretty good outcome of what you have in your vision. So you can see Claude did push all the changes and told us all exactly what it did. So let's go back into the theme editor and see what exactly it changed. So we're going to refresh real quick. And there we go. So you can see that the container of the menu got a lot tighter and it looks a lot closer to what Supreme has. Even the mobile version also changed. So let's go back into the live preview and refresh and see how it changed. So there you go. We told it exactly what the issue was and it pretty much understood exactly what we meant because we provided, you know, a screenshot as well as a lot of context to the chat. Our issue has been resolved. You don't see any more header or announcement bar. Now the enter page fully covers the whole screen on desktop and mobile. So you can see this is what it looks like on mobile and this is what it looks like on desktop. Right now we're pretty close to what Supreme has. I would say maybe the only thing different is the font size of the date and time is a little bit smaller than what Supreme has. And also the space between the links is a little bit more space than what we currently have. So let's tell Claude about these two issues real quick and then see how close we can get after this next prompt. So let's go back into Claude Cowork and tell Claude the new changes. Awesome, so Claude pushed the new changes now. You can see that it added a slider so that we can adjust the font size of the date and time, and also a slider so that we can adjust the space between the menu links. So let's go back into the theme editor and hit refresh. So you can see that the date and time got way bigger, but we should be able to adjust that with this slider right here. So let's try to put it at around 10 pixels. Let's go look at what Supreme has. So it's a little bit smaller. I would say it's probably around 11 pixels. Cool. So that's pretty accurate. And then now let's adjust the space between the links. So you can see right here, there's a new slider where we can adjust the space between the links now. So let's go look at Supreme and kind of get a feel of how much space is between them. So maybe let's try to do around like 6 pixels and hit save. Let's go back to look at Supreme, and it's looking a lot better. Let's try to do 8 pixels, and I think that would be pretty accurate now. Let's hit save, and I would say that's pretty accurate to me. Let's go look at the live preview and hit refresh. So I think the only thing that I see now is that the social icons on Supreme are this gray color, and ours are still currently a white color. And then also what I noticed as well is that we have a different font. So let's go see what exactly Supreme is using for their font. So they're using this font called Courier New. Let's try to tell Claude this as well to change the font to match Supreme's to the date and time and links. Let's go back into Cowork and tell it these things. Cool, so you can see Cowork pushed the new changes. It changed the font family to the same one as Supreme, and also adjusted the social icon so it looks closer to what Supreme has. So let's go back into the live preview of the site and hit refresh. So you can see now that it's looking pretty similar to Supreme now. You can see we have the same font now as Supreme. And also the social icons changed to align better with Supreme's. So from here, obviously you can keep adjusting and customizing to your liking. Obviously you don't have to replicate Supreme to one of one to have a good looking enter page. You can add your own twist to it, add your own branding, liking, get creative with it and make your own iconic enter page. So remember when we added the video background option to this enter page? Let's actually add a background video to this and see what it looks like. So we're gonna assign this video link real quick. I'm gonna add a slight overlay to it and also a slight blur to it. So we're gonna hit save real quick and obviously assign it to be a video instead of a solid color. Just adding a video background to it changed the whole vibe of the enter page. If you want to get more creative with your enter page, then you can add images or videos, just like how we did here. Let's go look at the live preview of it. So yeah, this is pretty much the outcome that we landed on. Inspiration from the Supreme page, and added our own twist to it and made it our own. So comparing to Supreme and ours, you can see that we replicated as closely as possible. So yeah guys, that's pretty much how you can replicate websites using Claude Cowork. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe and like the video, and also leave a comment of what website you want us to replicate next. We're gonna try to keep making videos like these so that you guys can see the workflow that it takes to make these type of enter pages and sections. Hope to see you on the next video. Peace.